Hi Second Lifers, my name is Sarah Jane and I have been in SL for almost 17 years. I recently realized how much random Second Life knowledge is in my head and that not everyone knows the random tools and tricks that I do, so I decided to start this channel. A friend asked me not long ago how they could remove the built-in kitchen in their new home, so I thought that would be a good place to start. Before we start with the kitchen, I thought we would start small and review some things you should consider before undertaking an edit of a Second Life item. The first is pretty straightforward. You need to have modified permissions for the object. In some cases, an object will tell you in inventory that you cannot modify it. However, it is scripts or other items included in the item that are no modify, and you can modify the mesh itself. If you see here, I res the item that I want to edit, in this case the house, right-clicked and edited it, and then I check my permissions on the General tab at the bottom. It will tell you there if you have the permissions to modify that object. The second rule is similar. You likely want to be sure you have copy permissions. If you do not have copy permissions, you'll be working on the original item, and if you break it, most store owners will not replace no copy items. Next, it is good to be aware that mesh is generally built in composite parts. Taking a look at this cabinet, you may wish to take the cabinet doors off. However, when looking at the construction, we see that is not possible. If you look at this colored version of the same cabinet, the different colors represent the different pieces of mesh. The cabinet doors are part of the blue section, which makes up most of the bottom of the cabinet. Therefore, we cannot take off the doors without removing the bottom of the cabinet item. Many creators will bake shadows into their textures. You can see when we remove the shelves on this cabinet that there are light shadows where the two meshes used to touch. You will likely want to change the texture of any item or cover it up so that you would no longer see the shadows. On the texturing note, it is good to consider if your item has a texturing HUD that you may want to use to change your item. It is pretty common for when you start deconstructing an item, you will also break the HUD relay. So it makes sense to make changes before you modify the item if possible, and then do not have to worry about breaking the scripts. Texture HUDs are not the only thing you could break. For example, some pieces may have animations or some other script-related items in them. If you remove the part that contains these items, they definitely will not work after you delete or unlink them. Often, you can tell this by examining the Contents tab of the part you want to remove. If there is something contained in there, like a script or an animation, that will no longer be available when you remove it. As shown on this sink here, I can tell that if I remove the backsplash, which is the roof prim, I will be breaking my ability to use the poses on the sink. Sometimes you may be okay with losing animations, but other times you may not be. It is simply something to consider. Last on my checklist of suggestions of things to think about are the items you sit on, mostly furniture, but it could be pose stands or the like. Imagine that if you had a couple's pose and you deleted one of the pose balls. Obviously, then it would no longer serve as a couple's pose. There is a similar situation with furniture. On app-sitter furniture at least, you need one piece, whether it be prim or mesh, for each sitter. So say for example there was a furniture that seats two couples. You may look at it and see some transparent prims that you think are not useful, but they may be there to serve as an open spot for one of the sitters. Moving on to our project and the purpose for all of my talking, the kitchen I have been in is the one that my friend wants to demolish so that they can use their own kitchen meshes. There are three main sections to this kitchen: the cabinets and counters, the island, and the refrigerator. We are going to work on removing all of these pieces completely, but you always have the option of just removing the parts that you want, assuming that the mesh is separated that way. I'm going to start with the easiest piece, the island. I have already checked, and this is only one piece, which I am able to see in build mode. However, a quick way to see what's involved in in what you will edit in your item is at the top of your edit, you will see the edit link check mark. Check that box. Once you have the edit linked button checked, just click on the piece or pieces you want to remove. Then click on the texture tab, click on the color button, and pick a color. As you can see, just the island turned pink. This is the part that I want to remove first. So with edit linked still in place, you would click unlink, then unlink to confirm. Once you've unlinked twice, you can go ahead and just delete your item. Now we have one of the shadows I was talking about here, but in this case you could probably just cover up with a rug if you wanted to. Next, we're going to tackle the cabinets and countertops. I'm going to cam over to make it a little easier to see them. And then we're going to notice that edit linked is no longer selected. Always check if edit link got deselected. It often does when you delete the piece that you were working on. This time I'm going to work on editing multiple pieces at once. With edit link selected, I will click on the cabinets, I will shift and click on the hood, click on the sink, click on the different burners, and then click unlink. It asks again to confirm if I want to unlink it. Yes, I do. And now you can see it's a little different than the time before because Second Life has, for whatever reason, decided to select the rest of my build in addition to what I had selected. So I'm going to shift and click on one of the blue pieces, which will deselect the rest of the house. And then when I have only the parts that I want to delete in yellow, I can hit delete. You'll see that some parts were left behind. I know from practice that this sink had a water prim over it, and that is what I actually deleted, not the faucet handle. So I'm going to go into Control-Alt-T, which highlights transparent, and see that I have another prim here that is transparent. So into Edit Linked I go, click the transparent prim, click the sink faucet, and click the grills on the stove, unlink. It selected the house again, so I'm going to shift and click the house and delete. All we have left is the refrigerator. I'm going to hit Control-Alt-T again to get back out of Highlight Transparent and look over at my refrigerator. Just like before, we're going to hit Edit Linked. We're going to click on the first piece. Now I can tell from the way it is blue highlighted what it's going to delete. However, you can always go in and use your trick to change it to a different color. Instead, I'm just going to go ahead and shift click everything I want to remove, unlink, confirm, deselect the house, and delete. Now it appears that there is some refrigerator insides that were behind that we could not see from the outside. So once again, Edit Linked, click on the piece you want to remove, unlink, confirm, and delete. Now that everything is deleted to your liking, you can go ahead and build up the rest of your scene. You probably want to put a faux wall over something like this, but something like the cabinets, you might be putting cabinets in, or you might be able to just go ahead and change the textures on these walls to something that does not have the highlights and the shading on it. So I would just go in and blank them out. And then you can paint them whatever color or put a texture on them, whatever makes you happy. You can still do whatever you want. You just need to be creative. That's it from me for now. I hope you enjoy working with your new building skills.